So you have a graph in R, but you want to break it out into multiple graphs, but you're not sure how you do it to make it look like something like this. Well, I'm going to show you how easy it is to do using Facet Wrap and Facet Grid to tailor how you want your multiple graphs to look. So with that in mind, let's head over to my RStudio. If you want to follow along, I've got the dataset in the link below. And also, if you just wanted to take the whole script and just use what I've done already, I've saved that as well for you to copy and use as you please. Once you have your data set, all you need to do is have it saved in your documents folder, and then you just need to run readr and then name the data, something simple to remember. In this case, I've just done df for data frame. So if we just run this now, we can see we got data here that has location, month, year, and new cases. And if we go in here, we can see location is character, month, year is date, number for year, and number for new cases. Now the important thing here is what you want with this particular build I'm doing here. If you want to be able to see the month, year at the bottom on the x-axis of your graph, you want it to be date with the logic I'm using in here. I cover this all in another video and I'm just reusing the same cleaning up as you'll see. But if you want to learn how I did all that, check out that video. I've got it in the description below. Now we got that data in, what you want to do is install tidyverse and then the packages for ggplot 2, which is going to be used for the means of creating the graph, and then dplow and scales just to clean up the actual overall aesthetics of the actual graph. So if you install all those, I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it again. And then we can come down to our graph. Now, like I said, this bit can be a bit confusing if you're not used to it, but if let's say if we just run from here to here, which is technically just your simple line graph. If I was to run that, so now we can see the line chart here, all it is just data at the moment. But if we were to just print out that line chart, we can see we have all 4 locations with a legend, and then you've got the 4 lines showing up with the different colors. And how that's working is we put the month, year at the bottom, which we can see here, and then we've got new cases, which is the summing here. And the way we're getting it to sum outside of doing grouping that I've shown before, it's just group by location, which is then breaking it out by location. And then just so you have a legend and have different colors, because if you didn't do that, they'll come out the same color. You just do AES, and then in there, you just do color equals location. So whatever your group is, you do as a location, and then that's how you get it to look all nice and pretty like that. You haven't come here to create this type of graph. Maybe you did. There you go, you know how to do it. But what we want to do, we want to be able to make it look broken out of these locations into 4 separate graphs. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just run the whole thing here, which, like I said, if you want to find out what this all means, check out the other video below. But basically what you'll see, this will clean up under here, and some of the titling as well. So if I was to run this now and then run that, this now has numbers down the back, new cases space. You can see actually month and years at the bottom. And then I've also included little points so you can see the points of when each month happened. And that's done with adding another graph called geom_point. So now we have our chart ready to break out. And because we have this already saved and this is the chart, all I'm doing is just doing an add sign and then putting in Facet Wrap. And then I think it's called tilde. I can never remember the name of that thing, the squiggly thing, and then location. And because location is because that's what we got down here. Now, if we was to run this, we'll now see it split out into 4 separate graphs. And there you go. We now have Brazil, Germany, United Kingdom, and United States all split out. As you can see, they've all got their own scaling and then the month and year across the bottom. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's great. That's exactly what I needed. It still doesn't look quite pretty. So we still got location down here as a legend. We don't want that. So how you remove the legend is we have a section called theme. And then what theme will allow you to do is just make slight adjustments to the layout of your graph. And in this case, all you need to do after your Facet Wrap, where you put in the location, is add another plus sign, just add another line, and then put in theme, and then legend dot position equals none in quotation marks, and then close bracket. So if we was to run this, this will no longer show up. Click run, and we now have Brazil, Germany, United Kingdom, United States without the legend. So that's great. So now you're like, oh, good, that's really good. But actually, I don't like them as the 4, like next to each other like that. I want them to be on top of each other. So how do you do that? Well, that one's nice and simple. All you have to do is within the Facet Wrap, after you've done your location for your grouping in your Facet Wrap, all you do is just add a comma and then do n row equals 4, because that's how many there are. So if we was to run that, we now have all 4 charts, but now stacked on top of each other, because what it's done is created rows. And you're thinking, oh, you can do rows. I'm not going to do column. Well, you can. So what you do is basically exactly the same as what we did with n rows. Instead of n rows, you just do n col. And again, equals 4. And if we run that, we now get 4 side by side. Not the prettiest thing to have, because we got so many months rolling here. But say if you didn't have that broken out by that information and you just want to see it like that, you can see everything next to each other, how they look, and you get a better scaling of understanding that. But normally, if you're going to be using this type of view, you don't have to use Facet Wrap. You can actually use Facet Grid, and that does exactly the same thing. So if we was to run Facet Grid with just a location, and we don't need the encol in it or anything, we run this, we now get exactly the same graph. But like I said, not really happy with this one. So let's revert back to the 4 all next to each other without the legend. So now we've got this. I'm fairly happy with it. What would be nice is, don't really like the grey on the background and the grey on the title. If we just wanted to get rid of the grey on the title, we can go back to our theme section that we added in to remove the legend. And then all you have to do is do a comma and then add a new section called strip.background equals element underscore blank, and then 2 bracket and then close bracket for the theme. And if we was to run that now, we'll now have this graph just with a white background for all the title. And you can see now we have that. But now we got that, we're like, oof, that grey, not very pretty. So what we can do is remove that grey. And again, we can use that section that we added with theme. And then after we've done our strip background, we can then add another comma, and then we can do panel.background and then equals element blank. And then what that does is remove all this grey over here. So if we run that, we now have a white background and a nice white graph. Now, one thing that I found really hard searching the internet for this next bit, and this is why I'm including it, is to be able to move where you have the position of those titles. Took a lot of searching to find out this information, but I managed to find it. And then how you actually make these titles move, and in this case just to the left, is by using the theme section again. I managed to find that if you use strip.text.x and then element text, and then you it's justifying, so you're moving it to the left, which is why it's minus. And if we run that, you will get Brazil, United Kingdom, Germany, United States, title move to the left. So that's how you can simply just split out your graph into any number of groups you want to, instead of creating multiple separate graphs. So I hope you found this video useful, and if you did, please give it a like and subscribe. And also, if you want to carry on your analytical journey, check out these videos over here. And as always, until next time.